Jessica had never thought of herself as someone who could be unfaithful. She was married to Mark, a good man who worked hard and provided for their family. Their life was stable, predictable, and comfortable. But sometimes, she wondered if comfort was enough. She missed the spark, the excitement, the feeling of being truly seen by someone. It wasn't that she was unhappy, but something inside her longed for more. It started on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Jessica had stopped by a small cafe downtown, a place she rarely visited, to grab a quick coffee before heading home. As she waited in line, she felt someone's gaze on her. When she turned, she saw a man sitting by the window, looking directly at her. He was strikingly handsome, with dark, intense eyes and a confident yet inviting smile. Something about the way he looked at her made her pulse quicken. She smiled back, just a polite, almost involuntary response. But in that moment, something shifted. It was just a smile, but it felt like the beginning of something unexpected. The next time she visited the cafe, he was there again. This time, he didn't just smile, he spoke. "Back for another coffee?" he asked, his voice smooth and warm. She hesitated for just a moment before answering. "I guess it's becoming a habit." They chatted briefly, nothing too personal, just the light banter of strangers who were beginning to recognize each other. His name was Ryan, and he was a writer who worked from the cafe most afternoons. He had a way of making ordinary conversations feel intriguing, and Jessica found herself looking forward to seeing him again. What started as occasional small talk turned into longer conversations. She would linger at the cafe longer than necessary, savoring their discussions about books, music, and dreams. Ryan listened to her in a way Mark hadn't in years. He noticed things about her, the way she tapped her fingers on the table when she was deep in thought, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about her childhood passion for painting. One afternoon, as she stood up to leave, Ryan reached out and touched her hand. It was brief, just a graze of his fingers against hers, but it sent a jolt of electricity through her. She knew then that she was on uncertain ground, but she didn't pull away. The connection didn't happen overnight. It was slow, deliberate, built on shared moments and whispered confessions. It was the way his hand brushed against hers when he handed her a coffee, the way his eyes lingered a second too long. It was the way he made her feel alive, understood, appreciated in a way she hadn't felt in years. One evening, when the cafe was nearly empty, he leaned in closer than ever before. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. She didn't have to ask what he meant. She knew. And the truth was, she had wondered. More than she wanted to admit. "I don't know," she said, but her voice wavered. Ryan reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I think you do," he said. That night, Jessica lay in bed beside Mark, staring at the ceiling. Her mind was filled with thoughts of Ryan, his touch, his voice, his unwavering gaze. She knew she was at a crossroads. She could step back, return to the safe, predictable life she had built, or she could give in to the fire burning inside her. The next day, when she met Ryan at the cafe, she didn't sit across from him as usual. Instead, she took the seat beside him. And when he reached for her hand, she let him. Because sometimes, all it takes is just one smile to set everything in motion. Days turned into weeks, and their connection deepened. They would take long walks after their coffee meetings, talking about things Jessica hadn't shared with anyone in years. Ryan would make her laugh in a way that felt effortless, natural, as if he understood every part of her that had been tucked away over time. One evening, as they strolled through the park, Ryan paused. "Jessica, I don't want to complicate your life, but I can't ignore this. What we have, it's real." Jessica looked into his eyes, her heart pounding. She had tried to convince herself that it was just a harmless connection, but deep down, she knew it was more. The way he made her feel, the way he saw her, it was something she had been yearning for. But what about Mark? What about the life she had built? She took a deep breath. "I don't know what to do, Ryan." Ryan reached for her hand, his touch reassuring. "I won't push you, but I need you to be honest with yourself." That night, Jessica sat in her car outside her house, staring at the front door. Inside, Mark was probably watching television, unaware of the emotional storm raging inside her. She thought about the years they had spent together, the love they once had. She thought about Ryan and the possibility of something new, something exciting. She knew she couldn't keep living in between.
She had to make a choice.
But the answer wasn't simple. Over the next few days, she found herself pulling away from Ryan. The reality of what she was risking became clearer with every moment she spent with him. Mark wasn't a bad husband. He was kind, reliable, and devoted. She realized that what she had with Ryan wasn't just about attraction. It was about filling a void she had allowed to grow in her marriage. One evening, after dinner, she sat down with Mark. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice uncertain. He looked at her with concern. "Of course. What's wrong?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I feel like we've lost something, Mark. I don't know when it happened, but I miss us." Mark reached for her hand. "Jessica, I don't want to lose you. Tell me what we need to do." It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was a necessary one. They talked for hours, opening up about the distance that had grown between them, the things left unsaid. Mark made a promise to be more present, to truly listen. And Jessica made a promise to try to work on what they had instead of searching for what was missing elsewhere. The next morning, Jessica walked into the cafe one last time. Ryan was there, waiting. She sat across from him, her heart heavy. "I can't do this," she said softly. "I care about you, but I have to give my marriage a real chance." Ryan looked at her for a long moment before nodding. "I understand. I just want you to be happy." She smiled, grateful for his kindness. Then, she stood up and walked away, leaving behind the affair that never fully was, but had changed everything. Because sometimes, all it takes is one smile to remind you of what truly matters.